Ever since the pandemic, comedy movies have been bombing at the box office. People will tell you this is because everyone just prefers watching comedy movies on streaming platforms nowadays, or that TikTok killed the genre, or that you just can't make a great comedy movie in today's politically correct environment. But all of these are lies, and I'm gonna outline exactly why. And if you're a fan of comedy movies, you're gonna wanna stick around, because there's plenty of good news to be shared about the future of comedy movies. Myth number 1, streaming platforms killed the comedy movie theatrical release. The fact is, since the pandemic, most comedy movies, R-rated comedy movies especially, simply don't even get the opportunity to have a theatrical release and are simply just released straight to streaming. The myth is very much so a self-fulfilling prophecy and very much less so the actual state of the industry. I mean, the highest grossing movie of 2023 and the second highest grossing of 2024 were both comedies in the likes of Barbie and Deadpool and Wolverine. And I can already hear the counter argument. But those were existing IPs. Then let's look at 2022's Ticket to Paradise and 2023's Anyone But You. Neither of these were existing IPs, and they both made stellar profits at the box office, especially Anyone But You, which essentially 10x'd its budget. And I can hear the same person saying, but those are rom-coms, and rom-coms don't count as comedies because they have wider appeal. While I think this is honestly a really poor argument, I'll just point to 2023's Cocaine Bear. Better yet, why not just look a few months back at 2025's One of Them Days? Neither of these movies were existing IPs, and neither of them were romantic comedies either, and both of these did really well at the box office. Point is, this argument is full of shit. I just outlined 6 different comedy movies that have been released all within the past 3 years that have done very well at the box office in an environment that seldom allows for a comedy theatrical release. And I'll be honest, most of these movies are just not my style of humor. In fact, the only one on that list that really made me laugh out loud more than once was Deadpool and Wolverine, but that movie did over $1 billion at the box office, which just further proves my point that there's very much so a taste for R-rated comedies even in today's environment. Above all else, the reason why the genre hasn't been doing well post-COVID has absolutely nothing to do with streaming services and everything to do with the fact that, put bluntly, most of these movies just suck and are not funny at all. I mean, if you cut together an entire trailer for a comedy movie and you can't even get one laugh from audiences, people just aren't going to show up to see this movie. But when you hire people who are actually funny to write, direct, produce, and act in these movies, they actually end up doing quite well, even in modern times. Comedy movies benefit more than literally any genre from a theatrical community experience. The demand is there. It's time to put our brightest comedy minds back to work. Myth number 2, comedy movies have been killed by TikTok. As I outlined in my previous point, the data clearly shows that comedy movies are not only not dead, but they flourish when given the right opportunity. But the second most common argument that you'll hear, and I've got to be honest, this is probably the single dumbest argument I've ever heard on this subject, that's that TikTok has killed the genre because instead of needing to go watch a movie in theaters, you can have a funny 30-second video waiting for you in a matter of seconds on your phone. Remember the aforementioned Deadpool and Wolverine? While according to Deadline, 60% of the ticket sales to this movie were in the age demographic of 18 to 34. You know, the same generation that has literally no attention span, is addicted to social media, and completely replaced comedy movies with TikTok. And 31% was in the 18 to 24 age demographic, which compiled the single largest demographic that showed up to see this movie in theaters. But does it even make sense that someone would watch a 30-second video on their phone and just say, all right, that's too much. I need to be done with comedy for the day. I can't laugh all day long. God forbid I go watch a movie where I laugh for 90 to 120 minutes. I mean, who the hell even thinks like that? But this should come as no surprise, as the horror movie genre is thriving more than ever. There are true crime podcasts literally everywhere. Not to mention, you could have a spooky TikTok waiting for you in the matter of seconds as well. The fact of the matter is that people genuinely love movies. movies, and the TikTok generation will show up in droves. It just comes back to making an actually good and funny comedy. And this leads to the final lie you're being told. That's that you can't joke around like you used to, thanks to the rise of political correctness. And I'm not gonna lie and tell you that political correctness has not affected comedy movies. In fact, I've been very outspoken on the subject. I mean, the rise of social media and just the internet in general has given a voice to some very vocal minorities, but who cares? Most people don't think like this. The key word is minorities. A majority of people do not care whatsoever about these kinds of jokes, and if they do, most people are just mature enough to just not watch these movies and not pay attention to them instead of going on the internet wasting their time complaining about them. People always have and always will get offended by comedy, but so what? I mean, anyone can get offended by literally anything. Just because the style of humor that dominated the comedy movies from the 2000s has generally been wiped away from movies doesn't mean there isn't still an audience for it, and a big one at that. I mean, look at Deadpool and Wolverine again. This movie is just such a great counter-argument to all of these stupid myths. But this movie crossed so many boundaries that no one would even dare cross in a movie even just 2 years ago. In fact, it's the only movie released this decade by a studio that's employed a 2000 style sense of humor. And again, the movie did over $1 billion. But let's just look across other mediums. I mean, the roast of Tom Brady was by far the most politically incorrect thing I've seen over the past couple of years, and it broke the Netflix streaming record. I mean, Dave Chappelle is so controversial that he gets banned from venues in Minnesota, yet he still sells out every show. And Family Guy has made its living off of offensive humor, and it literally just got renewed for its 1,000,000th season. Also, just look at all of the comedy movies that are being watched, celebrated, and quoted nowadays. I mean, the bulk of which are ones from the 2000s, and none of them are modern. There's still a heavy demand for this style of comedy movie. It's just that there have been literally 0 attempts outside of Deadpool and Wolverine this decade. But it does look like Hollywood is starting to get the memo, as we have 2 upcoming theatrical releases that could change everything. The first is Animal Friends, an R-rated non-existing IP starring Ryan Reynolds and Vince Vaughn. While there hasn't been a ton of info leaked about this movie, you put together the pieces, it's rated R, it's a non-existing IP, it's starring Ryan Reynolds, it's starring Vince Vaughn, and I mean, I don't think Vince has ever attached his name to anything that wasn't funny. This sounds like it has everything in the making to be a 2000 style comedy, and it's going to be released this fall in theaters. And then, of course, we have the Wayans brothers, primarily known for the work they did on the first 2 Scary movies, are getting another crack at the Scary Movie franchise with Scary Movie 6 that's set for theatrical release next year. If both of these movies do well, and I fully expect them to, this could mean we're in for a comedy movie renaissance a lot sooner than you'd think. But now that you know why all of the narratives you've been being fed about why comedy movies have been failing at the box office are a load of trash, you might be surprised to learn that if it weren't for American Pie, we likely never get any of your favorite comedies of the 2000s. And I break down exactly why here.